theory is that it was a bioweapon, which scientists say there's zero evidence for.
I guess without putting too fine a point on it, it would fall in the realm of conspiracy theory.
We're going to focus on one theory that both U.S. intelligence and lawmakers are examining, that the virus accidentally escaped from a lab. At least 2 labs in Wuhan research bat coronaviruses: the Wuhan Institute of Virology and the Wuhan branch of the Chinese Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They have become the focal point of suspicion, not only because of the work that they do, but because of their location. Both are close to the market. The Wuhan Institute of Virology is about 8 miles away, and the Wuhan branch of the Chinese Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is just 300 yards. Safety concerns about both labs have come up in recent years. For instance, in this video, we see one of the scientists from the Wuhan Center for Disease Control and Prevention doing research on coronaviruses in bats while not wearing protective gear. But regardless if researchers are in the field or in the lab, most bat coronaviruses scientists have identified aren't dangerous to humans.
They're not considered major potential pathogens because they just don't grow very well in other species besides bats.
That's why most labs who study bat coronaviruses do not require the highest level of safety protocols. The safety situation at the other lab is a bit different. The Wuhan Institute of Virology houses multiple labs, including one.
Okay, so according to this video, it cannot jump to a human being from another animal, species of animals, and kill you. It's just not strong enough. So, we shall continue, see what else they have to say on this matter.
One that has the highest level of biological safety protocols, Biosafety Level 4. It is designed to contain some of the world's most dangerous viruses.
BO4 is the ones you will see in films with people in a suit and an air hose attached behind them. They're completely enclosed and protected.
When China first brought this lab online, it was with the explicit goal of studying coronaviruses.
China wanted to set up its own laboratory after the SARS outbreak to study SARS-relevant pathogens so that they could do that on their own territory without having to rely on the international system.
Xi Zhengali, she's one of the world's experts on bat coronaviruses and is based at the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
The work we do with the Wuhan Institute of Virology is to look for viruses in bats that we think could be the next pandemic.
That work and the higher safety protocols have led to suspicion that she was working with more dangerous bat coronaviruses, ones that could infect humans.
Recent reports have come out that there were concerns being raised by U.S. scientists and diplomats about the level of safety training and general protocols there, and concerned that this was the kind of thing that could lead to leakage.
2 years ago, American officials voiced a variety of concerns about these labs, including an ominous warning that there was a serious shortage of appropriately trained technicians and investigators.
Without fail, every single BSL-4 lab in the U.S. gets some type of safety violation, some type of thing that they could do better. And that's the purpose of doing those inspections. It's to make sure that biosafety is as tight and secure as it can possibly be.
So, what do we know so far from this? We now know that the original virus did come from bats. However, it wasn't strong enough to just jump from a bat to a human and kill them. But what they're saying, upon further review, is that there might have been a different species of bat that was infected, and that the facility that was conducting these tests was not suitable to contain the fallout. That makes sense to me. What also makes sense to me is that the Chinese government tried to cover it up when it did get out. However, from what I've heard over the internet, Bill Gates knew that the possibility for another pandemic was possible back in 2015. Between 2015 up until and I would say from 2015, between 2015 and 2017, he had a conference with now President Trump. He relayed this information to Trump, and Trump sat on it. So people can talk about Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates is in on it, and Trump didn't know. Oh yeah, Trump did know. Trump absolutely knew that it might happen. And when the medical experts told him that it was definitely going to happen unless they did something, he still didn't do anything. Oh, it'll blow over. Yeah, right. Okay. Blow over, all right. So, I could try to rephrase this and tell you word for word what it says, but I think you understand it better if I just let the video play and let them tell you, so you won't think I'm lying about it.
That same 2018 State Department cable that described the possible safety issues also warned about the dangerous nature of Xi's research. They wrote, researchers also showed various SARS-like coronaviruses can interact with ACE2, the human receptor identified for SARS coronavirus. This fact strongly suggests that SARS-like coronaviruses from bats can be transmitted to humans to cause SARS-like diseases. Xi's team reported this in a 2017 paper, but that paper doesn't show these coronavirus samples were effective at infecting humans. And the virus used in that research was not the virus that causes COVID-19. It's the underlying experiment that has raised flags. Researchers at one point had a live virus that could infect a human cell. Just weeks into the outbreak, researchers from Xi's lab found the virus had a 96% similarity with a bat coronavirus they had previously researched.
So they both came from, the same distant relative, same great virus grandfather.
And though these two viruses have diverged, that 4% change, it's the part that makes all of the difference to us.
The part of the virus that binds to the receptor on human cells for the SARS coronavirus 2, it's very different than the bat coronavirus, the part that allows the animal virus to infect humans. Otherwise, it's interesting, but it's not going to cause any outbreaks in people.
That means this virus, and other currently known bat coronaviruses, could have picked up the features from just the right intermediary animal, allowing it to be able to jump to humans.
And really what we won't be able to find out unless we can identify whether there is an intermediate species. We have to actually see the ancestor of SARS coronavirus to know exactly what type of adaptations it underwent in order to be able to infect humans. The smoking pangolin or the smoking whatever else.
Of course, the potential great virus grandfather isn't the only bat coronavirus in Xi's lab. Even Xi was initially concerned that her lab could have caused the outbreak. But since then, she says she's ruled out the possibility. She, her team, and the Chinese government have adamantly denied that it could have come from this lab.
There's no way this virus came from us.
China's been incredibly open, and I believe it's because it's a scientific collaboration. And in China, they're really proud of their science. They do good work, especially in virology.
The evidence if the lab accident led to the release of the virus that causes COVID-19 is circumstantial, but speculation has heightened because of the actions of Chinese officials.
Wow.
First, before the Chinese government had even alerted the World Health Organization to the growing epidemic, scientists were told to destroy early samples of the virus, according to the Straits Times. After the Chinese government reported the virus to the WHO, officials quickly pointed to the seafood market as the source of the virus and shut it down.
The Chinese government acknowledged it began in Wuhan and put out the story of the wet market. It was a kind of unusual, specific pinning on the part of the Chinese government, like not their general way of operating.
But many of the first known COVID-19 cases were not traceable to the Hunan seafood market.
The initial patient did not have any link to the market.
The Chinese government reported that they had found samples of the new coronavirus in the western end of the market that is known to house wildlife. But to
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So you telling me that the virus that's destroying lives, literally destroying lives, killing people, originated in China from Wuhan, but it didn't come from the market. If it didn't come from the market, it definitely came from the lab. But how did it get to the lab? Think about it, people. Come on now. They done already said that it can't jump from human. It can't jump from a bat to a human. So there had to be a go-between. Either somebody extracted it from a bat and tried to mix it with human DNA, or something happened to where it was exposed to human DNA.
To confirm that, scientists would need specimens from the animals in the market.
As of today, to the best of my knowledge, and I look for this every single day for 112 days, China has not divulged any information about what animals they tested from the market when they closed it, and of course what results of any of those tests were.
The only way to find an answer to this mystery is with a sample that matches both the virus and matches the first patients, which scientists haven't been able to find. Even if there was a perfect match for the virus in one of these labs, without early patient samples, there's no way to be sure. The balance of scientific evidence strongly suggests the conclusion that the new coronavirus emerged from nature, be it in the Wuhan market or somewhere else. Too many perfect coincidences would have had to take place for it to have escaped from a lab. But the Chinese government has not been willing or able to provide information that would clarify lingering questions about any possible role played by the Wuhan labs.
Okay. So I get it. She's saying it seems like it came from nature. All right. If it came from nature, what's the big deal? It came from an ecosystem that they couldn't control. They tried to control it, they couldn't. It's nature. So just tell people how to deal with it so the rest of the world won't die. But the fact that the Chinese government is being so secretive about it makes it seem like it wasn't just nature. So on that part of it, yeah, I don't care what she's saying about it being from nature. The fact is, if it was that simple, why aren't the Chinese government trying to help instead of withholding information? But hey, what do I know?
It's like such a remarkable coincidence that you have an outbreak of a coronavirus, in theory, from a bat in the same city where there is this high-level BSL-4 laboratory where not only are there foreign concerns about its safety, but there are like Chinese articles about the safety protocols not being sufficient. And obviously there's no smoking gun. It's all circumstantial, but it's pretty remarkable, and it's the kind of thing where it raises questions.
That is why intelligence agencies are still exploring the possibility, no matter how remote it may be. And even then, it's unclear when or if we will ever know the origin story of this new virus that is causing so much death and economic turmoil around the globe. If there are statements you've heard politicians say that don't quite make sense at rallies, state fairs, in that one friend's feed, let us know. Send us a note or a tweet with what they said and your question. We'll check it out. You can.
So, where are we at now? The virus, original virus came from a bat. Okay, we know that. That's a part of the natural ecosystem. We know that. How did it get from the bat to the human? That's what we don't know. Does the Chinese government know how it happened? Possibly. Are they willing to share the information? No. Why not? Because they have another agenda. Either it came from nature and they're using it for a different narrative, this information that they're withholding, or it was a botched job in the lab and now it's killing people. Either way, Chinese government is responsible. Now some people say, well, you can't blame the Chinese people, it's not their fault. Okay, that's yet to be seen. I'm not going to blame them. I'm not racist. But I'm going to keep an open mind. I'm not going to pass judgment yet. But that Chinese government and their little antics they pulling, like really? You putting black people out of China, forcing them to go back to Africa, but then on the other side of that same stick, you buying up land in Africa. Now that really didn't make sense. That made no sense whatsoever. How is it that you're trying to tell people that Africans coming to China is the reason why Chinese people are dying? But then at the same time, you over in Africa setting up shop. It makes no sense. You go to the country where Africans come from, nobody's getting sick like that, but you want them out of China. That makes no sense. Somebody help me make sense of that, because that makes no sense. Yeah, and yes, it is true. The Chinese government is buying property on the low from within Africa. Are the two things connected? It could be. I don't know. I'm not the great detective, so I can't tell you that, but using common sense, I can put a lot of stuff together, but I haven't gotten that far yet. Anyway, that's all for this video. I'll bring you some more information later. Till then, we'll chat later.